Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
I'm Pichelle Schneier, Executive Producer and Manager of the Thornton Review.
And I'm Charles Thornton, Chief Executive Officer, the Thornton Review.
This episode is dedicated to the passing of our beloved producer, Alex Gavin. Thank you for tuning in. This is a special kickoff of our Interview with the Candidate series. When Charles and I first started the show about a year and a half ago, our purpose was to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials and professionals. But this election cycle, there are so many professionals who are running for office, so we decided to invite the candidates onto the show. Our very first candidate to appear on this series is Walker Wilson. We're going to discuss his involvement in community outreach as a business owner and as a candidate for ESCAMBIA County Commission District 4. But first, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Walker Wilson. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Alpha Fence Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. James Walker Wilson is a Republican candidate for the ESCAMBIA County Commission District 4. Born in Cartersville, Georgia, his family moved to Pensacola just before he started kindergarten. Forming his roots as a Pensacolian, he attended Scenic Heights Elementary, Ferry Pass Middle, and Washington High. After graduating, he attended Auburn University, where he received his bachelor's degree in political science. Wilson has a history of community outreach and has been involved in several local nonprofit and county boards over the years, including chairman of the ESCAMBIA County Planning Board, vice chairman of the ESCAMBIA County Board of Adjustment, past president of Pensacola Young Professionals, Pensacola Civitan Club, and member of the ESCAMBIA County Public Schools Foundation. In 2016, Walker founded On Bikes Pensacola, a local charity whose mission is to provide new bicycles and helmets to children in need throughout ESCAMBIA County. Wilson has served as executive director of the Downtown Improvement Board since 2020 and president of Bay Lumber Trading, a brokerage company he launched in 2016. Walker, welcome to the show. It's really nice to have you here participating in our candidate series.
Of course, it's great to be here. Michelle and Charles, thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. We're very glad to have you. So I'd like you to introduce yourself. Our viewers want to know who you are, and if you can tell us what made you decide for County Commission.
Yeah, so my name is Walker Wilson, and I grew up here in Pensacola, and this is my home. I think that the big thing is that I'm excited to have moved back here after I went off to college and really make an impact, and I always wanted to come back to Pensacola and make this my home. And I wanted to also be able to go and live off somewhere else and kind of get some experience of what other communities around this country do. And so I was able to go live down in Tampa, lived out in Houston for a little while I was running my lumber company, and moved back here in 2016 and continue to do that and try to throw myself into about as many organizations as I could and get involved. Mm-hmm. And so I know that Charles, you and I met in Pensacola Civitan Club, maybe even when I was in high school, in junior Civitan back in the day.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I got involved with Pensacola Young Professionals and some other organizations around town, and started a charity called On Bikes Pensacola with some friends of mine.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, we just raise money and try and give as many kids bicycles for Christmas as we possibly can. And so today we've given away just over 4,000 bicycles to kids right here in this community, which is pretty exciting.
That's amazing. That's good.
Yeah. And then 3.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to get hired as the executive director of the Downtown Improvement Board, and have had some good successes downtown, which has been fun to do. And we can talk about some of those later. But, I feel like I've got more to offer this community than just those 44 blocks in downtown Pensacola. And so when I saw that Mr. Bender got appointed by the governor to be the next supervisor of elections and the seat was open, I thought, really here's an opportunity for me on a much bigger scale to make an impact, and a positive one at that, on Escambia County in the city of Pensacola and the surrounding area. I think it's time we see a young mayor in office with Mayor D.C. Reeves, and I think it's time for this next generation to step up to the plate and put ourselves out there and really try and put our thumbprint on what this community is going to be for the next generation to come. And so, that's a big part of why I'm running, and I think there's some generational decisions that are going to get made with whoever ends up in this seat, hopefully myself, but that decisions are going to be made with big projects in mind that I think will be here for decades and decades to come. And I certainly think that a young individual sitting at the table helping making those decisions is vitally important.
As a non-elected official, it seems like you've kind of started at the top in every club and organization and board that you've been on. But what has been your biggest accomplishment for Pensacola?
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk maybe briefly about just the On Bikes program. I think is probably personally one of my bigger accomplishments that I've had here in town. Just really and truly a group of friends when I moved back home sat down and said, we want to try and give back to our community. Let's bring On Bikes Pensacola here. Was actually some of my friends from college started On Bikes down in Tampa.
Okay.
And so that's how I was introduced to it when I lived down in Tampa in 2012 and 13. And got back here and thought, well, here's a way to easily make an impact, and an impact that everybody, I think, for the most part, gets, right? Everybody remembers that feeling of getting your first bicycle.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so
or just getting a really good bicycle.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Because they're very quality bicycles that you are donating to children in need.
Right.
They're great.
And so we just kind of sat down, and I think it was 10 or 12 of us, and said, who do we know that we can call and try and raise some money to put this together. And we set out that first year to give away 100 bikes. We thought, okay, if we can get 100 bikes, we'll be doing something.
Hefty go.
Yes. And we ended up giving away, I think it was between 200 and 250 bikes that first year.
Great.
And we do a big bike ride downtown every year where we invite the community to come out, get a ticket, just like you sign up for a 5K race, except this isn't as grueling, I guess. It's just a slow bike ride through downtown. And have a band and celebrate all that we've been able to do throughout the year. And so to date, we're annually at this point in time raising somewhere near $80,000 to $90,000 a year. We invite the public to come down to the Pensacola Bay Center and help us put together all those bicycles. And we've been giving away about 500 bikes each year around Christmas time. And we've got some of the same groups that come back every year to volunteer and help us put those bikes together. We would get so much help on the bike build portion of this thing, we had to start doing free tickets. So we make people sign up because we'd get too many people. We couldn't handle it. So now you have to get a ticket to go, but it doesn't cost you anything. Just so we don't get too many people down there, which is like a good problem. Right.
So to help, you get a ticket to volunteer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you have to get a permit for that, right? And do they close off the streets to make it more safe? Is
for
there
the
police escort?
For the bike ride itself, we do. So we hire Pensacola police officers, kind of overtime work, if you will, to come down and escort us around downtown. So we've got a safe ride because we've got 5-year-olds that come out there and do it, and we've got 90-year-olds that come out there and do it, and ride in the bike ride, and then come back and we eat some food and listen to a band and celebrate everything that we've done.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Futuristic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess, maybe more on a professional side of things, accomplishments that I'm certainly proud of is with my time at the Downtown Improvement Board, getting there.
Can I ask you, is that an appointed position?
It's I'm hired by the
Okay.
board of directors for the DIB. So the board members themselves are all appointed. There's 5 voting members on the Downtown Improvement Board that are appointed by the mayor. There's one person that's a city council member that is a or ex officio member that doesn't have a vote. One county commissioner that serves as a board member that doesn't have a vote, and one individual from the planning department of the city that also serves on that board that doesn't have a vote. So the 5 voting members that were appointed by the mayor, and that's who hired me in 2020 when I started. So started in 2020. The COVID virus had locked down the world for so long and had all of us inside. The city at that point in time had decided to stop allowing outdoor events, or really any events that the city was going to permit. And we were kind of coming out of that. And so we had to pick up and start back the Palafox market. And we got the city to, and we had, our vendors were they're pushing for the DIB to get the Palafox market back up and going. And so we had to work with the city. They allowed us to essentially have deemed what were essential products back out there. So it was kind of nice for me because I was stepping into something new. The person that I had hired to come run the market was brand new. And so it was kind of good for us to get, kind of ease into the pool instead of jump right into the deep end, right?
Right. But sometimes that's better.
Yeah, but we, end of the day, we ended up getting it back up and going fully.
Yeah, it's in full force.
Yeah,
Every Saturday, it just looks like it's overloaded.
Yeah.
And people, drive from from all over, from Mobile, to come here to our Palafox market. It's huge.
They really do. And so one thing that we've been able to do with the market is we had such a long wait list, and we wanted to expand where the market was. So when Mayor Reeves got into office, I spoke with him, and he was open to the idea. So we had a few other meetings, but to lift the event permit for us to operate the Palafox market out of Plaza Ferdinand, right there across from Jackson's Steakhouse. And that
prime
park,
location.
Yeah, that park had an event ban essentially since I think before the mayor and I were born. I think it goes back to the early
there.
80s. Yeah.
Wow.
And because it's a historical park, it's where Andrew Jackson took Florida from the Spanish. They wanted to preserve
King
it.
Ferdinand and Queen Sophia deeded it over.
That's right. And so we were able to work with the mayor and city council to get that ordinance changed so that Palafox Market is able to operate on Saturdays out of that park. That freed us up to add another 50 to 70 vendors into the market. And so today we, throughout the year, we have somewhere between 250 and 270 vendors that come out to the Palafox market throughout the year. We have some people that come once a week. We have some people that come twice a month. Maybe some people come seasonally. They only come during the summertime, or they come during the winter time, depending on what their product is that they sell. And it really has turned into what I would imagine is the largest small business incubator that Escambia County has.
Yes.
The threshold is super low. Our application fee is $35. The weekly fee, depending on what you sell at the market, is anywhere between $20 and $35 a week. So
you're keeping the rates very, very low, giving the entrepreneur the chance to go out there and sell their goods without having a big lease on a building and overhead expenses and everything. They're just selling their product for a very low amount.
Yeah, so it's not like you've got if you've got an idea for a product or a new business that would fit into the Palafox market, it's really and truly one of the best ways to test out your product, because you're going to have thousands of people walk by you each and every single week. We have 5,000 to 10,000 people come out to the market to come buy stuff. Some people come every week to buy some of their groceries. I mean, it's really an amazing thing, and it's a great place to buy local honey. Yes, that is true. That is true.
Is it self-contained in the park? Are you able to get the entire market inside of the park?
So from we've got has typically been is MLK Plaza, which spans those 3 blocks
In the middle of
between Wright
Palafox.
Street and Garden on Palafox. And we fit about 150 vendors in there. And then you go down 2 or 3 more blocks, and that's where you've got Plaza Ferdinand, where we've got another, depending on a week, 50 to 70 vendors down there. And we started running a trolley to go back and forth. So if it's too hot and you don't want to walk, or if you've got a couple of kids with you and
For
you've bought some
shoppers.
stuff and you don't want to walk
What a
down the
great
street,
idea.
you jump on the trolley to get down to the other end. And so that's been really successful.
Whose tents are they? I'm just curious.
They're the individual.
Okay.
They got to have the tent.
Okay,
So
so
that's
they bring their
another
own
expense,
tent.
but they don't have to have a tent if they don't want to.
Yeah, just
Some of
open
them
air.
don't. Some of the farmers don't have a tent. But again, the tents are anywhere between $80 to $125,
And it's something you have for years and years,
Yeah,
however
so
long it lasts. So you
it's
just have to
not too
put it up
bad.
and take it down every time.
Right.
Which they're easy to do.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it.
Yeah. And it's a great community. We've had some of those vendors that have been with us almost since the beginning when they started the market in 2007. Which is crazy to believe, because that's when I graduated from Washington High School when this thing started.
Yeah.
2007.
Yeah.
I remember when it started.
Yeah. And I think when it started, it actually was just a couple times a year, and it was where Bank of Pensacola is at Palafox in Maine. There was an empty parking lot there, and that's where they started. The farmers market was there, and then it grew, and they ended up moving it up to MLK Plaza.
Walker, I remember a few years back I was talking to you about serving on a board that I was on, and you told me that you was already serving on a board. So in addition to the Downtown Improvement Board, are there any other boards that you served on or have served on or has served on?
Yeah, well, I was president of Pensacola Civitan Club
Right.
when a member when we were both there.
Yeah.
And that organization, I was in junior Civitan, which is essentially the high school, version of that organization growing up. And it's an organization that works with mainly focused on individuals with intellectual disabilities and doing service projects around them. That I know the Pensacola Civitan Club for decades has built wheelchair ramps for people in this community, and I think it's got to be close to 600, if not over, wheelchair ramps that the Civitan Club has built for people here in Escambia County that couldn't get in and
At
out
their
of their homes.
houses?
Yeah.
600 at people's houses? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
What about county board?
County board. Yeah.
That was
I didn't know they
a
did that.
Yeah, they do, and the county actually has a program too to get wheelchair ramps if you are confined to your
that's
house.
good to know.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so back to other boards. I guess it was 2016 or 17. I got put on in a large role with the Board of Adjustment for Escambia County.
That's the board. Okay.
And I served on that for a number of years. And the Board of Adjustment, essentially, if you trying to think of an example, if you wanted to build on maybe the setback of your property at your house, or if you were going to go buy, I'll give you an example of one is Coastal County Brewing Company, which is a brewery on Olive Road, right just down the street from Ferry Pass Middle School. They wanted to be able to brew some of their beer and sell it in grocery stores or something like that, and the use of the land wasn't so that you could do that, so they had to come to the Board of Adjustment to get a conditional use to say, okay, you can use this land for that condition to brew beer, sell it in a grocery store.
Did it have to be a certain distance away from the school?
It does, but it was far
further.
enough. But again, that would be another case
Yeah.
where we had one. It was a hotel on Mobile Highway, I think, or something like that, where it was already an existing hotel. They had a lobby, and they wanted to have a tiny bar there in the lobby to serve beer and wine for people that were staying at the hotel. It was within I think it's 1,000 feet or 500 feet of a church.
Oh, church. Okay.
And it's church or school,
Right.
or the two. And so they came in to ask for a conditional use to be
Is
able to
that
do
called
that.
a safety zone? Is that what that 1,000 or 500 feet is called?
I think that might be kind of the name, or maybe that's the nickname for it.
Okay.
And it's funny the way they measure that. It's not the way the crow flies, right? It's not just like, from point A to point B in a straight line. It's how would you legally be allowed to walk on the sidewalk across the,
Okay.
how you legally would be able to walk from one place to the other is how they calculate the foot.
That makes sense.
And so we would deal with things like that, or somebody wanted to put in a patio on the side of their house, but it was going to go into the setback zone of their property lines. They'd have to come in for that, right? And so many times we certainly would vote in favor of the private property owner because, in my mind, I think that if it's your piece of property and you want to do something and your neighbors aren't there to complain about it, then go ahead. It seems ridiculous. You got to come pay the county $500 to do so. But some of the ones dealing with alcohol near schools or churches, I can see where that could cause concern.
Okay.
And then, so I served on that for a number of years, and then I got moved over to the planning board for Escambia County.
Okay.
And I've been doing that, I guess, since 2019 or 2020, and I'm now the chair of the Escambia County Planning Board. Yes.
You currently serve on the planning board?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So your full-time job is the Downtown Improvement Board, but you're still serving on a chair of the...
Correct. Correct. Yep. And that's an appointed position. Each commissioner gets to put a person on that board. Then there's 2 at large that they collectively all 5 vote on. So there's 7 of us total.
I want to say, because this is, I think this is important, and I think the people should know this. By you serving on the Downtown Improvement Board, does that position sometimes cause you to overlap or have interaction with the county or the Board of County Commissioners, as the Downtown Improvement Board allows you that interaction, overlapping with the county?
Yeah, there are times, and we do have one member from the county commission that serves on the Downtown Improvement Board of Directors as a non-voting member. We also have a person from the Pensacola City Council that serves on that board as well, just kind of an advisory role and just to help us be plugged in with what's going on with the city and the county. Right now it's Commissioner Kohler. It was Commissioner Bender before that. And I think, many of the other commissioners have served on there over time. But most of the time, the DIB dealing with the county, it would be, it's through, and not to confuse anyone, but we've got the Downtown Improvement Board, and then we've got a 501c3 nonprofit called Friends of Downtown.
Okay.
And if you're the executive director, if you're the hired executive director like myself for the Downtown Improvement Board, you're then responsible and the chairperson of the Friends of Downtown organization. And that's where we collect funds for the Christmas lights. We do our Foo Fest project through that, and we do our repast dinner through that organization. So typically my interaction with the county would be asking for funds for the Christmas lights for downtown through tourist development tax, because 8% of your TDT tax for the county is created in the 2 downtown zip codes.
Okay.
And we also, the county funds Foo Fest, or ACE, the Arts and Culture and Entertainment group. So we get a grant typically every year for Foo Fest as well.
I know,
We're
I know.
going to take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to ask some more questions. But we want to remind our viewers that the Thornton Review is doing an interview with the candidate series. As a candidate, if you would like to request to come on the show, please message us on our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show, or email us at thethorntonreview@yahoo.com. Facebook is The Thornton Review Show. Email is thethorntonreview@yahoo.com. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Walker Wilson, Republican candidate for Escambia County Commission District 4. Alpha Fence Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that.
before the commercial break, I was wanted to bring up some things in reference to. I know you're running for District 4, and it's an open position right now. There's no one sitting in there, and I know you was talking to our executive producer, and you and her had some questions and all. First thing before I turn it over to Purcell, I want to ask, what is? Do you have a vision, a focus? Is there something that motivated you, that you saw, that caught your interest in running for that position?
Yeah, well, I think, with a position like this, you got to get past what you see on TV or social media and what I guess people would consider the glamour of being in an elected position. At the end of the day, whoever gets the most votes has got a job to go do. And it's a hard job. It's a thankless job a lot of times. And I think experience matters with stuff like this. And I think with my time on the planning board and board of adjustments, I've been able to see how this county operates, especially on the planning and zoning side of things, and been able to help vote to protect the rights of private citizens in this community on their property rights, or save smaller neighborhoods from a big development coming in that's not compatible with the surrounding area. And with the DIB, I think as well, I've had the opportunity to reduce government spending and turn that back into services for our downtown taxpayers, as those only the people in those 44 blocks are the ones that pay the extra DIB tax and fund all the programs that we do. And we've been able to grow our cleaning service from 2 individuals to 5. So we've got 5 people out there cleaning the streets of downtown, pressure washing each and every single day, picking up 500,000 pounds of trash a year that we never see because they're doing it at 4 o'clock in the morning before we all get down there. And of course, it's never going to be perfect, but that's what I've tried to do, is to really question everything that we were spending money on, reduce our spending, and increase the services for our taxpayers.
So what would be the first issue that you would focus on after you're elected?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is making sure that you've got your arms around the issues that have been going on in District 4 that maybe haven't been able to be addressed because they haven't had someone in that seat since the end of January. If we continue at this rate, we won't have a commissioner for District 4 until whoever's sworn in November. And so trying to really get the house in order, I think, would be the first thing I would want to do. And, we still have the aide that was working for Mr. Bender, and I've made a commitment to her that if she would like to stay, that I would truly appreciate her staying on unless she got another opportunity to go do something else. I would understand that, but my intent would be to keep her there because she's a vast wealth of knowledge,
yes.
And knows the issues very, very well. And then, I think there's going to be some big issues you see in the news this week. The county spending $10 million to make some upgrades and fixes to the Pensacola Bay Center. Is that the long-term plan, and is that truly what the community wants? When you've got Mobile 60 miles away that's voted to invest $350 million in tearing down their Bay Center, putting in an entertainment district and new Bay Center, is $10 million to fix and upgrade what we've got, the solution to compete.
We'd have to know what's wrong with it and exactly what upgrades it needs, and are those upgrades going to be sufficient for the community? Right.
And and so I think,
if the answer is no,
right,
then we have to move on to something else.
Exactly.
Another idea.
So I think, that's certainly a big one, that one of those generational decisions that will have to be made is what's going to happen with that building and that facility. The wraparound on the east side of that building of I-10 or I-110 really restricts that property. But I think,
does it restrict the parking? Is that what the issue is with that? Because you have the ramps going up into it. You can't walk from the parking lot on the ground to the building on that side because of that wraparound. It's fenced off. But they have the ramps that go above it into the building. Yeah. And so
I think, Commissioner Bender, when he was in office, had requested from FDOT and I think even the federal government to get rid of that wraparound around the backside because it's not very utilized. You can just as easy go down to 9th, take a left, and and go where you're trying to get anyways without wrapping around, because it restricts the building. You can't build the building east any further.
Or take the Garden Street exit
Right.
prior.
Exactly. But I don't think the FDOT or the federal government's going to do that until Escambia County's got its house in order and knows exactly what it wants to do and how they're going to pay to fund the project.
That makes sense.
So that's certainly one big thing that I think is on the table. And then you look at the issues with parking and traffic out at the beach. I mean, I know, Ms. Thornton, you see it. You serve on the Island Authority Board and have for a number of years. And it's also, my intention, and I've let people know this out at the beach, that when I would go to make an appointment for the Island Authority, that it would be somebody that lived out at the beach and understood the issues. I think, if you've got a board of 6 that are going to manage what's going on at the Island Authority, that the people that live out there should have an opportunity to have a seat at the table. They've got an elected member, but I think, having 2 up there, maybe they don't always agree, maybe they do.
I think they need a parking garage.
Yeah.
Or 2.
And there's been discussions about putting a parking garage just on the north side of Crabs, in that Casino Beach parking lot.
Just pay to park.
Yeah. And you certainly could. There's enough room there to put a parking garage.
You could put 20 parking garages.
You could.
The parking lot is gigantic.
Yep. And you've got to figure out what to do with that traffic light. It's
that first light on the beach.
Yep.
Past the toll bridge.
And that's where people get hung up.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
There's a general perception by the leaseholders on the beach that the county does not give them the proper support for whatever they're paying into the system, as far as the financial system. So that's an issue that whenever you do your tour, I know you told me you was going to go out there, we'll just listen to the leaseholders, and you don't have to give them answers, but it's important that you listen to them and to their concerns, and just take them under consideration.
Yeah.
Because they do vote. I believe most of them vote. Yeah. They vote for District 4. So I'm glad to know, as a board member, I'm glad to know that you are interested in the beach. So that's important to me as well as the other board members. Right?
Absolutely. And I mean, the beach is a huge part of this community, whether you live in Century, or Beulah, or the city of Pensacola. I mean,
anywhere in the United States, really, because people come from literally all over to come to Pensacola Beach. Right,
and the bed tax that the beach generates, that repairs our roads throughout the county, fixes the bridges that have gone bad. I mean, that revenue really helps prop this county up, or allow us to dedicate our general revenue funds on what we really need to be doing, and letting the tourists essentially pay to get them back, to come back again, right, with the bed tax. And so it's just such a huge economic driver in this community, and an important part. In this district, they're all different throughout the county, but this one is really 3 big separate areas. It's Ferry Pass, it's the city of Pensacola, and it's the beach.
Is that a redevelopment zone? Do we have a redevelopment zone in District 4?
You've got the Atwood CRA.
I think that's
You've got the Atwood Community Redevelopment Agency. I believe they had an extension, maybe 2 extensions onto the Atwood CRA. And so again, the CRAs, how they operate, if the viewer's not aware, they essentially they get created, they come in. Let's say there was one put in for this year for where we're sitting today.
Right.
It would say the property value here is $100,000, just making up a number, and it freezes that number. So all the property tax you pay on that first $100,000 goes to the county, the city, whoever you're paying your taxes to. Every year after that, there's going to be an increase, most likely, if the value of your home is rising each year. So now it's a couple years later gone to $200,000. So the value of your home, that money from the $100,000 to the $200,000 stays in the CRA district to make improvements to the community you live in, so that it's not getting doled out to other areas of the community.
So in those districts, are they reevaluating homes every year?
Every year the property appraiser is reevaluating the assessed value of your house before they send out your property tax bill. Yeah.
There's another issue going on there, and you don't have to respond to it, and that's having to do with the children trust, and the county is asking the children trust to pay into the CRA, as a CRA fund, as some kind of pay taxes or something.
Right.
And the CRA is trying to get a deferment so that's going to be really interesting. I think they're going to take it up at one of the board meetings because are you familiar with that?
All right. Yes, I am. Yes. So I may have kicked the can to stir this issue up, not intentionally. And here's why I say that. The DIB falls into a CRA downtown for the city. Well, we have an agreement with the CRA. This is another accomplishment that we had. When I got there, we were paying in what we owed the CRA, the DIB was, and then they would give it back to us. At that time, they were doing it minus $100,000. So if we gave them $500,000, they were going to return $400,000. That $100,000 that they kept was going to go towards affordable housing. And they found out they had to spend it within the DIB district because that's where it was created. There's not really anything you can do for $100,000 in the downtown core for affordable housing each year. So we got an agreement put in place where they'd give us all of that back.
Well, you'd have to wait a few years and just let it add up.
Yeah. And so the trust, I noticed, hadn't paid into any of the CRAs, and I've been trying to get the DIB exempt from paying into the CRA because it wasn't a revenue generator, because they're giving it all back to us,
Right.
because we have the same mission, essentially aligned with the same mission to do the same things with the CRA. And so I said, well, hold on, like why is that the case? And I said, the trust needs to get an answer on whether or not they're supposed to be paying in or not, because my fear for the trust was, if this goes on for another 4 or 5 years and the county and the city decide, oh wait, the trust does owe the CRAs, that number is going to have ballooned to a figure that they then wouldn't be able to afford because they would have had promised out to programming for kids.
Right.
And that was really my biggest fear. So the trust has requested a public hearing on the issue. My personal opinion is that when 60 or 65% of the voters voted to put in the children's trust, that they were voting to tax themselves a little more on their property tax to invest in children. I think, I've heard the other commissioners make arguments that the CRAs are doing work with children in those communities, and I don't disagree. I think that's right. So I think if the trust can show what those funds would be used for each year, which will essentially be somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 a year to the county CRAs. Right. I think that the board would certainly be willing, the Board of County Commissioners would be willing to allow them to recoup all the tax dollars that they bring in. Because one thing the trust has been talking about lately is community schools, and that the setup fee for one of those is roughly $300,000 to $400,000. So each year you could be propping up a community school at some of these elementary schools that we've seen underperform for decades, and really make transformational changes in those communities.
So that's up in there. We'll just have to see what happened to that, whether the trust is going to have to pay into the CRA or not. But that's going to be interesting. One other thing, then I'll turn it over to Priscilla, is that you also have Pensacola Christian. Have you met with the folks over at Pensacola Christian School and College? Because they are in your district.
Yeah, they are. And I know several people through Pensacola Young Professionals that went to school there. And so I'm trying to set up a meeting with them now to go speak with them. They're in the middle of commencement ceremonies, so not the best time for them to try and meet, but hopefully here in the next few weeks.
Okay. Just don't forget about them.
Oh, yeah.
They vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's just been a lot of growth in the county. In the future, like say 50 years from now, will our infrastructure handle the growth? I mean, we're talking about generational and generations to come. So building, new houses, new roads, will our electricity, our electric grid, and ECUA, can they handle all of that? And who's going to pay for it?
Right. Well, I know that there's some commissioners and even some school board members that are certainly in favor of impact fees. And I think, the county should certainly explore all the options that are out there. What I wouldn't want to see is to deter development in this community as we continue to grow. And if by putting impact fees, if that's the biggest speed bump in the way of developers from wanting to work in this community, then I don't know, maybe that's not the answer. I think another option, and I'm not saying I would vote against impact fees, if it's a viable option that makes sense, then maybe that's the right way to go. Another way to go about it in my mind is to you build a development. Now that property's assessed more, obviously there's condos, townhomes, new homes, a new subdivision, whatever it is, there's new tax revenue generated from that neighborhood. How do we now invest that new tax revenue into those roads, streets that are leading to that neighborhood to make sure that it's up to par? And that might be a better way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Are you a proponent of traffic circles?
Well, I'll say this. I haven't been through the one at Perdido, but I've heard it's not that great. The one at 17th Avenue and Bayfront seems, in my mind, to work very well. So I don't know that it's the solution for everything. Right. Clearly, we've got two in this community, and there's one in Scenic Heights that it's been put in at Hilltop and Langley, right by the soccer park, and
trying to think of where that is. My experience with traffic circles is they work great if you're the only car in it. Mm-hmm. But if there's other cars, it makes it. I mean, especially like in DC. I mean, I know I'm comparing Pensacola to DC at this point and the population, but you've got 4 lanes in a traffic circle, and if you're in the far left lane and you've got to make the next right turn, it's impossible.
Yeah. And
it just makes it difficult and stressful. It's stressful driving to me.
Right.
Every time I'm in a traffic circle, I feel stressed out.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. And especially if they don't have the street name.
Right.
If you're just supposed to know where you're going and you don't know where you're going, then you're going to pass your turn. You're going to have to go all the way around again.
Yeah, keep circling around.
Yeah.
I've never been in a 2, 3, or 4 lane roundabout.
It's very stressful.
I would imagine
it's stressful.
It's stressful. But I think I really do think the one at 17th Avenue going over the 3 Mile Bridge seems to work out very well. It's designed well. It's big enough.
There's only ever one car in it.
Right. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that one does work there. But in a place like on Pensacola Beach,
right,
at that intersection, if you tried to put a traffic circle there, you would have chaos.
Yeah. And I think there's other options to fix that at that light. And it's a lot of different, it's really 3 different things. It's people are looking for a place to park. Mm-hmm. People are trying to walk across the road.
Walk across the road, yep. Mm-hmm.
And people are waiting on the light to change. Mm-hmm. And sometimes all 3 of those things are happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. People are trying to cross the road when the light's green. People can't go. People are trying to turn into the Casino Beach parking lot to go park. Uh-huh. They can't get in because it's full.
Are there a lot of accidents out there because of all of that?
I don't know the accident.
Or is it blocking up the bridge? Is that what the main issue? Like, what's the problem?
Right. So it's the light holds up traffic.
Uh-huh.
And
coming across
it depends on the day. So in the morning, if you're going to the beach at 10 or 11 o'clock or noon, everyone's going to the beach.
Yes.
So the traffic's going to get backed up.
Into Gulf Breeze.
Even into, Gulf Breeze or even the 3 Mile Bridge. When it's time to go home,
same thing.
People are stuck down Via de Luna and they're stuck down Fort Pickens Road, waiting on that light to change. You got cars, Casino Beach, emptying out onto Fort Pickens Road, and it's just a nightmare. So there's got to be a solution. And people that live out at the beach, from talking to some of them, I mean, it's like, well, we're kind of stuck out here during the summertime, and we got to go to the grocery store on Tuesday. Not that it's a bad place to be stuck, right?
Right.
But
at least they're at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're at home and on a beautiful beach.
Yeah.
But they've really got to plan around that during the summertime.
Yeah. And
how to deal with that traffic. And I don't know that that's particularly fair to them. I don't know that it's particularly fair to the families that come down here and spend thousands of dollars to stay down here for a week, and they've saved up all year long to come on a vacation, and now they'd like to go in town, or they'd like to go to the Navy Museum or
They're stuck in
go.
traffic.
They're like, well, we're not going to deal with that, so we're going to just stay out here at the beach. It's great for the beach owners and the developers or the folks that own hotels out there. Yeah. But I've talked to some of them, and they're like, there's so much more to offer. It certainly helps them with their bottom line, but there's so much more to Pensacola, especially with downtown just 20 minutes away if there's no traffic.
Right.
And so there's got to be some sort of solution that we can come up with that the other commissioners would also be able to vote for. Because, that's the other part of this job is finding 2 other people to vote with you to get something done. And so you got to be able to lay out why the investment makes sense. Is it going to pay for itself off, in a few years from now, because you've made it easier and now we've got more people coming. Their stays are longer. They're spending more. They're going into town more often than, so there's so many moving pieces, but, it's how do you separate cars from traffic and how do you have more places for people to park so they're not driving around all the time. And Robert did a lot of things to really help alleviate that. You've got the toll bridge now. You don't stop to pay the dollar. He expanded the right turn lane to turn onto Fort Pickens Road, closer to the toll bridge. Yep. There's someone that monitors that traffic light remotely and changes it to help traffic flow. But I think there's still more you can do because you still see the issue, and it's not 100% solved. And another point that he would often make, and I don't think he was wrong on, is it's not like it's all the time. It's a window of time.
It's peak season,
but it's still
when the Blue Angels fly. It's 4th of July weekend.
Right. It's not all the time, but again, it's an issue. And I just don't think if that's your first trip to Pensacola and you come down with a family of 4 and you spent hundreds of thousands or $2,000 to get down here and go eat and stay somewhere, and that's your experience, you're never going to come back. And we don't need that experience for anybody that's coming to visit here.
The board we talk about the traffic all the time. The Island Authority, when I say the board, I mean the Island Authority. We talk about it, and we're looking at ways to do things. But you're right, because it's seasonal. So if you do build a parking lot and the investment, what happened during the wintertime or after the season is over, and so there's a lot of variables, but it stays on the front burner. And that's why it's so important that we get a commissioner in that particular seat to work with us and help us out, because whenever a district seat is not there, then that means that community or that particular, and when I say the beach community right now does not have a commissioner, does not have a commissioner. You have a representative that's elected from the from the peoples out there, but it's very important that we do get a commissioner, because that's just how you spend dollars when it's seasonal, and then you got to look at the off year and take all that in, and so I look forward to you getting leadership there. To getting leadership there. I think I had one other question, but I'll come up with that later. You go, oh yeah, I know what it was. We look at the board, the current makeup of the board. We're minus a District 4 position, and right now there's some personality issues and sort of challenges with certain things. When you go into that, how would you serve your district without getting caught up into some of the other things that are going on with the current makeup of the board? Because we have 2 positions currently that one is has an incumbent, and that may remain the same, or someone else is running it. We may have another commissioner there. Either way, it would be a difference. You would come into a situation even with the current makeup or with a different makeup. How would you work around that to best serve your people and kind of stay out of that?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to go in and understand your you're certainly not going to get your way all the time. It's a legislative body at the end of the day. It's 5 people trying to make a decision. It's like if you're on a road trip with your family and you go to pick out where we're going to stop at the next exit and where we're going to eat Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, or Burger King, there's probably going to be multiple different answers. And so you've got to be able to accept the fact you're not going to win everything. And you've also got to understand, at least from my point of view, I'm going to represent the people that put me in office. At the end of the day, that's who I'm responsible for. That's who I've got to answer to. And while all at the same time trying to keep the entire county at mind too, and not put the residents in my district ahead of others for whatever reason it may be. And just know that if I've got something that I'm adamant about that I think is going to be the best for this county, that I'm able to lay out that argument, make my case, hopefully win some votes to help me get it done. And if it doesn't happen, then you pick up and you move on. I mean, and you leave it up there, right? I mean, I just don't see any benefit in dragging out any ugliness or nastiness between essentially your coworkers at the end of the day at the Board of County Commissioners. And I certainly wouldn't want to bring that attitude towards any conversation up there, or really anything that I deal with in my life as in general.
Exactly.
We're here to serve the people of this county, and I certainly would be leaning on the folks that put me there to try and guide me in making my decisions.
Just to kind of reemphasize on what I think you said, paraphrase what I think you said, is that you're going there to do the work and serve the peoples of District 4, your district, and overall the peoples of ESCAMBIA County. And if you see something and you feel that is best, that can serve your district, then you're going to do that and not discounting anyone else, but not getting caught up into it. You're going in there with focus on the job and not to.
Yeah, and because I just don't think that serves the residents of this community at the end of the day, unless that's what you're in there to do. And knowing that, I might have to support something one time that I may be on the fence about because I may need some help down the line, or I might really have to think hard or ask some tough questions of my counterpart up there to try and get to their side to understand what their point of view is. And if I can't, within reason, and let them know, one way or the other, I got to vote yes or no, and stick with my decision and go with it. And I think once a decision's made, you pick up and you move on to the next one, and you leave it where it is. A decision was made, and that's that.
If you don't get 3 votes, you don't get nothing, right?
That's right. That's right. And so, I mean, it's a team game, and the less you can make it ugly, the better.
Your background has well prepared you. Some of the boards you've been on, and
I certainly experienced that with my job with the Downtown Improvement Board. I mean, all of our business
you're
owners
almost already doing the job of a county commissioner.
Yeah, all of our businesses downtown don't agree all the time on what happens downtown. So you do one thing, it benefits one group of business owners. You do another, it benefits the other. And so you have to try and balance what's going to be best for everybody downtown, and explain why you made the decision. And they may not like it, but as long as, to me, if you can explain why you're doing something and you think it's the best thing to do, people can respect it even if they don't agree with you. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need more of in this community.
Well, you're well-rounded with your education and all of the experience, and just your wherewithal and your willingness to jump in and help and see the big picture, see the overall picture, what needs to be done in the community and ways to help. And if you can't do it yourself, I'm sure you're a man who would seek counsel of other wise men to pitch in and help. Yeah. And so I appreciate that about you. I think that you would make a great county commissioner.
Well, thank you.
I can't wait to have you elected. Yeah,
I hope so.
You would make a good board member, and you are a future leader. You're a leader now, but you're going to be a leader for a while. You're a future leader. You're a current leader, and you're just expanding and growing into the person and you're dedicated to service. I can say that because I've
Yeah.
known you a while.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any closing comments? We're about to have to wrap it up.
No, I just want to thank you all for having me on. I'm excited about this opportunity. It's a lot of hard work. We got a long way to go till August 20th. And hopefully I can earn the votes of the people in District 4 and get ready and go to work for them. And I'm excited at the opportunity that lies ahead. So thank you.
August 20th is the primary.
August 20th is the primary, and then you got a general election on November 5th.
So if you're in District 4, please register to vote if you're not registered to vote in Escambia County, and vote for Walker Wilson, Escambia County Commission District 4. So
Walker Wilson.
That's
Walker
it.
That's
Wilson.
easy to remember, right?
I know.
That's right.
Walker
It's
Wilson.
got a ring to it. So
That's right.
the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. You can watch our program on our newest outlet, Pensacola Urban Network Praise TV on WBQP 12.1 and 12.8, and you can watch us on Praise TV on Roku Television Network or download Praise TV on Google Play Store. This show is made possible by Ida Gates Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Walker Wilson, Republican for Escambia County Commission District 4. We thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.